Ohio State gets Travion Henderson back, proves to be incredibly significant in a game where remember, Devin Brown leaves the Penn State game with an injury. Kyle McCord banged up in this game, hobbling around like it's a Disney movie, and we're just telling the heroic story of somebody who's trying to prove that his name is not Honda McCord. Shout out to Sickos Committee. I found out on the Instant Reaction show, after the Instant Reaction show, where that joke first started. I picked it up from the chat, gave credit as such. Marvin Harrison Jr. comes up with 2 touchdown catches. The offensive approach continues. The defense, JTT gets a little bit banged up in this game as well. Woo! Ohio State, we said, just needs to win by 1 point the rest of the way. That's all that matters. How are we feeling about the Buckeyes coming out of the win against Wisconsin?
The same. I mean, it's the same team it's been every single week. They're just better than everybody they've played. So even though they're not perfect, they've been able to beat everybody. I do think that Travion Henderson was a big deal tonight in that while Ohio State's offensive line still kind of struggles to get push in the run game and still struggles to open up the kind of holes that we've seen the last few years, the difference between Henderson and guys like Mayan Williams and Chip Trainum is that, like, when they're running their stretch plays or their outside zones, if the block isn't there with Trainum and Williams, they don't really have that extra gear to beat the defender to the corner and get around them. So it's like it's a 1 yard gain or it's nothing. Travion has that extra gear that even when it's not there, he could beat the defender to the spot to at least turn what should be a 1 yard gain into a 3 or 4. And then if he breaks a tackle, get into the open field, and he's strong, so he breaks plenty of tackles, then he can turn it into an explosive play. And that is something that Ohio State's really just been missing in the run game that we saw with Henderson tonight. We saw the 33-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter to kind of put this thing to bed. But he also had a lot of, 10, 15, 20-yard kind of chunk runs that you kind of need to keep these drives going and not just rely and hit the Marvin Harrison button. And like, okay, we need a big play, just chuck it down to Marv. So I think his presence is really big for them going forward. I think this defense is still phenomenal. And I think that Wisconsin tonight was playing pretty well until Braylon Allen got hurt. And then it had to lean more on Braden Locke, and it got down, and it was in a position where it had to throw more than it probably really wanted to against this Ohio State defense. And the Buckeyes were just, once Allen was out, they just pinned their ears back and said, all right, let's go get him, because we don't care who this other kid is. They're not going to be able to run on us without Allen. And I think that kind of played out in the fourth quarter. So Ohio State, I still don't think they're as good as Michigan. I think they're better than everybody else in the Big Ten. And I think Wisconsin's a pretty decent team. And honestly, his numbers overall weren't great. And again, the fourth quarter played a big role in that, losing Braylon Allen and being forced to drop back repeatedly and playing a really good defense. But I don't think we need to see any more of Tanner Mordecai for Wisconsin. I think Locke, the kid, is your future. And he's playing just as well as Mordecai has been, and he played just as well tonight as Mordecai probably would have. I would keep sending him out there going forward, even if Mordecai comes back.
Yeah, he wasn't that bad. I was fairly impressed. Look, Ohio State had a chance to really just put this thing away early, and they moved the ball on 5 of their 6 drives in the first half, and didn't score. Well, they scored, but like they didn't score the ball, consistently. And they let Wisconsin hang around. I just never, ever thought that Wisconsin had a real shot to win this game. Did they ever have the ball past the 50 with a chance to take the lead?
At 17-10, they were near midfield, but I don't think
they had a chance to tie potentially.
Correct.
Yeah. I just don't really have any faith that Wisconsin can score on a good defense when it needs to. I've seen them against Iowa. I've seen them a couple of other times this year. If they play this again, I think Ohio State probably wins by like 20, somewhere in there. But they didn't. And to their credit, it is hard to get off a really tough game that you played last week that's like a huge emotional game, and then go play on the road in front of a jacked up crowd. Ask the Irish, right? When they went, they had the emotional win over Duke, and they had to go turn right back around and go play at Louisville, and they got whipped. Ohio State, mostly because of their defense, they didn't get beat. in a really tough environment. I know it's back a quarterback for Wisconsin, but to Tom's point, he's not a huge drop off from Mordecai, certainly. Their skill guys aren't really impressive. Part of that's because who was hurt, obviously. But nice win, man.
Yeah, question for Tom.
Still terrible in the red zone, though.
Yeah,
4 possessions, 17 points.
Yeah, it's really tough to be able to get up, and have everything click in. Like you might be a little rusty. Like that's why you might be expecting a few less points in the game. Benedict Arnold, you go down. All right, the first
to the gallows.
Latif fight. He decided. He even asked the chat. He walked into the Cover 3 tailgate and was like, "Hey guys, should I fight this?" As all the good vibes were going for a surefire winner. You led Bud's brigade into battle, and it was an ambush. All right, the C3 OGs were waiting there, and we just took down Bud's brigade. If you've been blindly tailing Bud, you've got a lot of wins. You bought a jet ski. You have maybe even financed the new Suburban. But I'll tell you what, you took an L. You took an L to Danny, Tom, and even Chip today on here this week 9.
We're about to take another L here, I think, because New Mexico's quarterback has thrown like 3 pick six or near pick sixes in the first half. So great job there. This game can't have more than like 200 yards of offense total, and it's about to be, a million.
I'm just happy one of my underplays this week didn't have a devastating fourth quarter. Shout out to Nebraska, Purdue, and Oklahoma State, Cincinnati. Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Hey.
UCLA getting backdoored despite having like a 350-yard edge. That's great.
Every loss sucked this week for our loss.
Hey, save it for Thursday. All right. Everybody gets their time to complain or call something out as they may. Anyway. Coming up on the other side, it wasn't all sort of a mixed bag, right? We had some just straight up dominant performances from top teams. We'll get into that, plus our expectations for the new AP Top 25 poll and reactions to results up and down, ranked, unranked, all over the board on Saturday. Next.
We can't wait for a showdown in the Steel City. Let's go! And an epic matchup out west. All hail Sunday. The NFL is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.